maybe a couple. It's great to see you all. It's clear that there is a lot of interest in this call and this topic within CCI. Today's webinar is really about informing everyone about the call and taking any questions. Eric Berger, I see that he's in as an attendee, but he'll be joining us as a panelist, and he'll actually be leading this discussion. Before we really get started on the details of the call, I'll just give you a little bit of background about this. And I see Eric has now joined us as a panelist as well. So every year CCI has an internal call for proposals that's aligned with our research mission. So every year we pick a topic. So in past years, the topics ranged from 6G security to securing interaction between humans and machines, to other topics that were relevant and that we think have high probability of yielding some larger scale research initiatives within CCI. We view the funding that we have in CCI as seed funding to go after some larger opportunities. So this year we decided that the topic that we want to invest in is the intersection between cybersecurity and AI. So AI for cybersecurity and cybersecurity for AI. And importantly, what we're really hoping is that this will be the initial work that leads to something much larger. So larger scale proposals that get submitted to calls from federal agencies or from industry and so on. So we are doing things slightly differently this year, and Eric will describe it more, but in the hopes that we'll be building teams across in multiple universities that will then be strong in going after larger scale opportunities. So with all that, let me pass the baton to Eric Berger, who's a professor at Virginia Tech and also serves as the director of research in the CCI Hub. So Eric.
Thank you so much. And I am actually finally able to get to where I can share my screen here. Let me just pull this up. There we go. And it looks like I'm sharing the right thing. So yeah, so as Louise mentioned, and thank you for the introduction, I'm going to talk for our 2024 call for proposals, which is about cybersecurity for AI and AI for cybersecurity. So at a glance, a reminder, as Louise just said, these are seedlings. So we're not just funding research, but we have some specific goals. And the overarching goal is for you to get a proposal to the stage that it can capture significant follow-on funding. So it's a seedling. The idea is that you would be able to prove something out to the point that you could get a significant grant from the NSF or DoD, DOE, industry, wherever. And one of our goals, which is again a usual goal, is to encourage collaboration between multiple CCI institutions of higher education. In this call, we're looking for two related areas. One is AI for cybersecurity, and these are uses of AI to improve the cybersecurity posture of devices or systems or networks or the nation. And kind of a mirror of that is cybersecurity for AI. So research to improve the cybersecurity of AI systems. We are looking for a two-phase process. The first phase is a workshop, and we are asking for expressions of interest that will be due on August 14th, so coming up in 2 weeks. And then people who are successful with their expressions of interest will be invited to that workshop, and then a proposal. I'm going to go into a lot of details on what's going on there. Now, again, this is not an exhaustive list nor a limiting list. Clearly, this space is much larger than just 3 or 4 topic areas, but just to get your idea going of what we're looking for. So typical things where we see AI for cybersecurity might be anomaly detection or automated cyber defense or system integrity automation. And for cybersecurity for AI, this would be things like AI assurance, but again, related to cybersecurity, integrity of machine learning, again, kind of on that automated cyber defense side, making systems more resilient, especially open source AI and machine learning platforms. And likewise, explainability. One thing to be clear, though, is that if your proposal is about artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithms or other fundamental AI and machine learning technologies, that would be out of scope. Your proposals do need to be somehow related to cybersecurity. So the objectives for the call, I will be saying this many times on our Zoom session today, is to pursue continuation of the awarded project's impact post-funding, i.e. that you'll get more funding. We are interested in science, so producing seminal contributions, that's important. Contributing to workforce development, particularly more inclusiveness, more diversity, more people who have not been involved in cybersecurity before, as well as opportunities for innovation, so commercialization, entrepreneurship. And again, this particular call at the intersection of cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. I would offer that those three non-bolded bullets kind of feed into that first bullet. Those are all kind of proof points for your ability, for your research to have post-award or post-CCI award relevance, impact, and funding. So what are the mechanics? The first phase is a workshop. The goal of the workshop is to create new teams that you might not have had before. That does not mean you cannot come in with a team. But even if you come in with a team, it would be fantastic if you met other people and said, hey, let's get together in a larger team. Or even better is, wow, together we have an even better idea that's more likely to get more funding, that's more likely to have more inclusion, more likely to have more activity. So to get to the workshop, individual researchers submit brief expressions of interest. Basically, in 3 paragraphs or less, enumerate your directions for AI for cybersecurity or cybersecurity for AI research. It can be too brief. We do need more than 1 sentence. We do have to evaluate basically why we're buying you lunch. The CCI team will select researchers to attend the workshop. We will offer modest travel funds, but only to individuals with a full-time affiliation with a Virginia public institution of higher education. That limit is set by our funding restrictions from the Commonwealth. Others may attend, but we may still buy you lunch, but you have to get there on your own. These expressions of interest are due in 2 weeks on August 14th. It's a very simple expression of interest. The link for the form is at the call. The fact you're on this webinar says you found the call. There's a link there. I'm not putting the link there because it's one of those license plate Google Docs. But I will note you only get 3,500 characters. So we really are not looking for a 20-page NSF proposal, but we do need more than I want to do AI research. You know, again, just briefly explain your area of AI for cyber or cyber for AI. At the planning workshop, the format is in the morning, researchers will give lightning talks on their topic in the morning. And then we do team formation and exercises and discussion in the afternoon. Again, the goal of the workshop is creating new teams, so lots of opportunities, both structured formal networking as well as informal networking and teaming opportunities. The workshop will be held at the University of Virginia at Charlottesville. I'd like to thank our CCI colleagues at UVA for making their facilities available to us. And the workshop will be September 6th from 10 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon. The full proposals, the principal investigator, who can do that? Basically, researchers and faculty from public CCI institutions who can serve as a PI, meaning that the institution allows them to be a PI. An eligible researcher can submit only one proposal as the principal investigator, but eligible researchers can participate in up to 2 proposals. So for example, you can be PI on one proposal and co-PI on another, or be co-PI on 2 different proposals. This is not a limited submission call, so multiple individuals from the same university can be on proposals. Again, a reminder, by law, we can only fund PIs from public institutions. That doesn't mean we're not interested in researchers from private institutions or from industry, but we cannot fund them for this seedling. The other thing is we are asking that at least one investigator on the proposal, whether it's PI or co-PI, that they attend the workshop. So what makes a successful proposal? What's the criteria we're looking at? Well, of course, the first is great science, that in your proposal, you give us something interesting, something new, something that's believable, something that will generate publishable results. Again, we keep coming back to enumerating where you're going to get, where you see that there are funding opportunities. So saying, we'll get some funding from NSF if we're successful. Well, that's nice. If you say this program at the NSF has got these parameters that map very nicely to what we're proposing here, and it will be, a $2.5 million proposal, that's, more credible to us. The more specific you are, the more credible it is. Likewise, being able to enumerate the relevance, getting letters of support. Really, we would be looking at the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative for Virginia companies, or any government agencies. Obviously, they do not need to be Virginia government agencies, but like if DoD says this research is really important to us, that would be a success factor in a proposal. Clearly not the only one that is kind of a tertiary indicia for a successful proposal. Again, we really want great science that'll draw on more funding, but if you can show us, people who say, yeah, we'll fund this if it's successful, that's really great. The award itself, the maximum is $100,000, but note there are no smalls. Our expectation is that the grants will be at $100,000. They must involve multiple CCI institutions, of which at least 2 of them must be fundable. It's another way of saying public institutions, but again, you can have more than those public institutions. We just can't fund them. And that part of the grant requirements is that you'll commit to participating in future CCI activities. There's reporting requirements, there are meetings, you'll be a reviewer on a future call, there'll be data collection requests, and of course, like any grant, acknowledging CCI support. So with that, we can open it up for questions. And I already see a question. So if one is not selected for participating in the workshop, can the proposer still submit? It's highly likely that to not be selected, pretty much either said, in your statement of interest, you either said, I'm interested in AI research, or I'm interested in material science. It would be kind of hard to not be invited, but I will actually answer another question that uh, was not asked, but it's related. We do understand that some people are not able to attend for one reason or the other. And, see us for that. Louise, do you want to make any comment about the
No,
workshop?
I think you answered. We don't intend to be extremely selective. The point is to accept as many expression of interest as possible. However, we are limited in terms of how many people we can accommodate in the workshop. So, given that we expect a lot of interest from our CCI community on this call, there may be some expression of interest that we do not select for the workshop. That that will mean that it somehow, we don't feel that the topic hasn't quite matched. But as Eric said earlier, we're asking that in the final proposal, at least one of the PIs will have attended the workshop. But you, if you're a co-PI and couldn't attend, and your PI and the PI or one of the other PIs was able to attend, I think that would be sufficient.
That's right. Yeah, thank you for reiterating that. The next question is a company outside of Virginia acceptable? So a couple of reminders here. First is we can only fund institutions of higher education in Virginia that are members of CCI. But that does not limit who else is involved with this seedling proposal, as long as we're not funding them. So whether they're self-funding, doing internal R&D, in a sense, that's great. There's a preference for like the letters of interest for Virginia companies, but if a multi-billion-dollar company says this research is really interested to us, and in fact, if it's successful, he might want to fund it at the CCI institutions. Of course, that would be of value for us to know. If that didn't quite get the answer you were looking for, feel free to expand. The next question is, we do say in the call that the proposal needs to be interdisciplinary. How interdisciplinary do we mean? Well, again, this is kind of like the invitation to the workshop. More competitive proposals will be a wider range of interdisciplinary, like social sciences and computer sciences, just an example. However, that doesn't mean, computer science and computer engineering isn't interdisciplinary enough for multi-party computation and AI security is not multidisciplinary enough. But the more competitive will be more wider range of proposals. There are two kind of related questions that I'll bundle. One is, wow, $100,000 doesn't seem to be much to fund two institutions. And the second question that's related is, do I have to have at least two funded CCI institutions, so two public institutions? And the answer is yes, this is a seedling proposal. If your research is so basic and fundamental that you need to get it to some beginning point before you can make a larger proposal. That sounds very much like an NSF small or medium proposal. It's, $600,000 for like a small. And they do that. And, that's great. This is more for you've done the small, or you've done, some stuff. This is believable. I need just a little bit more to be able to go for that NSF medium or NSF large. Or maybe I've got a inkling of an idea. I just need a grad student for a semester to write it up, or I need to take, buyout out of a class and, put together a team. That's kind of the goal for this funding level. And so that's why we're offering $100,000. And that's why you can't say, yeah, and I'm taking it all for me to fund a graduate student for a year and a month of me to, do this research.
And just to complement Eric, as a reminder, there is no overhead, right? So the full 100,000 goes to direct expenses. So and the duration of the project is 1 year, because that's how CCI gets funded year by year. So if you consider both of these, that's a 1-year project at 100K for direct expenses, then it's really similar to, say, an NSF small. It's about that level of funding. And as Eric pointed out, this is really a seed grant. So what we have found out so far is that this level has been really effective. The objective is not to conduct a full research using this grant, right? So CCI is not a funding agency for research. The objective is to make our community more competitive for larger scale opportunities.
So the next one, how many awards will be granted? I'll do the NSF thing. Up to 7. If we get one good one and a whole bunch of not good, we're not going to award the not good ones just to say we've spent the money. Of course, we tend to get really good proposals, so we expect to do up to 7. The next one allows me to almost make a joke. It's a great question, but again, in the context of what we're looking for. Is there a preference between basic research and applied research? The preference is for projects that are going to get more funding. So if you've got a great basic research proposal, then you can say, and this is likely to get more either larger basic research funding, or we finished off, we're almost done with the basic, and you prove out the basic and you can get applied, great, or it's applied, which can get you to a huge, like say a DoD kind of level of funding. That's what the preference is. I don't know, Louise, do you have any color on that? Nope. Okay. And yeah, another pair of questions that are kind of related. Are there, so we did enumerate, you can only be on 2 proposals and you can only be on 1 as PI, but hey, what if you already have a CCI grant? Well, if you've had one, great, you probably know how to write proposals. It's not going to help you or hurt you, except for the fact you've got some experience writing proposals. Louise, I will defer to you on the what if you already have a grant?
No, we ask for your current level of commitment for other research projects, whether from CCI or elsewhere. So like NSF does, we consider whether you seem to be overcommitted or whether you seem to have the bandwidth to conduct the work that you propose. But that's the only consideration. We haven't penalized anyone for currently being a PI on a CCI grant.
Yeah. And this is actually a similar question, totally different, but similar. Does a team need to include both AIML and security researchers? And really the answer there is it depends on kind of the profile of the research being proposed. I mean, if you have pure AI ML theoreticians, they're probably not going to be doing cybersecurity research, so you probably need security researchers. There are AI ML researchers who are doing like integrity or explainability. If you can explain how the proposed research with these researchers addresses AI for cybersecurity or cybersecurity for AI, then you're done. Clearly, having both, uh, will give you more interdisciplinarity and give you more credibility that you're doing AI cybersecurity or cybersecurity AI. But that one, in a sense, you'll have to, decide on your own. Another question, this really, goes, it is a good question and it goes to any grant proposal you're writing. Does publication in the field of the proposal add some weight? Is it good? And in a sense, yes, of course. When the reviewers review proposals, whether it's a CCI seedling or an NSF large, one of the questions we're asking is, can the researcher deliver? And, if they have peer-reviewed publications in the field, that, gives credibility to the belief that you will deliver. That said, there are postdocs and assistant professors that are just starting out. So it's not a requirement, but it would clearly, help one's case when submitting a proposal.
And just to complement a little bit, for those of you who have participated in previous calls in CCI, you already know this, but for those who haven't, the proposals get reviewed independently by at least 3 researchers in the area. We tend to use our own community a lot, so if you don't submit a proposal to this call, you may well be invited to review one. If you submit one, then you're off the hook because, of course, you're conflicted. So to some extent, some of these questions are going to be decided by the reviewers. The reviewers are going to evaluate the proposals according to the criteria that are listed in the call, which track a little bit NSF, right? So things like intellectual merit and broader impact, but also the relevance to the call, and the ability to attract further funding into Virginia and into CCI, into your organization. So this is an assessment that each of the reviewers is going to make in terms of is the team appropriate? Are you really likely to advance the field and so on? And considering that this is a very interdisciplinary area, so cybersecurity really touches a lot of disciplines. So the publication, I would say there isn't one single publication, set of publications that is preferred, because you may well be publishing within AI or within networking or within I don't know, transportation or any of the areas that are covered by CCI researchers. The important thing to us is that it remains within the topic of cybersecurity, and that's something that we have seen a little bit, not a lot, but some of the proposals in the past are not really cybersecurity. It's a little bit too much of a stretch to call them cybersecurity. So we really, this is not simply about the application of AI to some problem, or as Eric mentioned, the development of a better AI algorithm in general, but rather, the cybersecurity aspects, either in improving the security of AI systems or using AI to improve the cybersecurity of other systems.
So with that, we are at the top of the hour, the end of our time. But again, I've put up what we're looking for. Again, the number one thing, getting a proposal to the stage, it can capture significant follow-on funding and collaboration between the CCI institutions. We talked a lot about, we're really focusing on AI for cybersecurity or cybersecurity for AI, and that we have this novel two-phase process that we're trying here at CCI, the workshop where we do expect expressions of interest in 2 weeks on August 14th. We'll have the workshop on September 6th, and then the proposals, which are due October 7th. So with that, I want to thank you all for sharing your time with us today, and looking forward to a lot of good, fundable, interesting AI for cybersecurity and cybersecurity for AI proposals.
And looking forward to seeing you all in September at UVA. Thank you, Eric, and thank you everyone who attended today. Take care.